video number 4, and after watching the race this weekend in Chicagoland and finishing 23rd, it's evident that the communication and chemistry between Lance McGrew and Dale Jr. are not there, and it's time for us to start pushing the fact that we got to get a crew chief that he trusts. He doesn't trust Lance McGrew, it seems. I listened to the communication on the radio. I heard things that Dale was telling Lance it wasn't being done, and you see how they ran. Well, it's time to make it. It's time to start looking for somebody who Junior can trust. It needs an old school crew chief, and your feedback, getting comments to this video are important because I'm going to send this video to certain people, so it gets out in the air. It gets in the hands of people so they see how the fans feel. Now, we still got to do our part, and every time we see Dale Jr., we got to make sure we tell him how we think, so that he knows where we stand at in a lot of different things. But hey, you can't win them all, but you got to start. You got to start somewhere, and I just don't think that this crew chief is the right one. And I'd like to see Pop Yuri Jr. Senior back. But that probably wasn't happening. He needs to find him an old school guy that's been around the garage and Junior grew up around and trust. And I think that's where he's at right now in his career. But in the meantime, let's talk a little other things too. We need to start pushing this video on a lot of other people like NASCAR itself, because it's an awful race this weekend. It was an awful bore. As a race fan, it's just not, it's just not a good race. Riding around in circles and lapping cars left and right, it's just a bore. I don't know how anybody could see it any other way. But that's the way some of these races go. And we got to start pushing NASCAR to do things by the fan council and other little situations, and tell you some of the things that I see that I'd like to see changed. I'd like to see the points for when they get to the chase, making it a playoff system. It needs to be changed. It needs to be, leave the 12 guys in the playoffs. But look, let's make it where they only race those 12 guys. If you finish first, you get 25 points. If you finish first to the 12, you get 15 points. Something like that. And if you finish 43rd in the race, then you get the 12th place points of the chase points. It's got to be a better format for it, because right now you're not. They call it a playoff, but it's not a playoff. It's more of a, if one guy runs good, one guy runs bad, it's totally, you're still racing the other 31 cars, and the numbers don't add up. Let's tighten it. They need to tighten it up. It's kind of like a football game, 7-7, 3-3, whatever. You got to score to win, and that's what NASCAR needs to do to really make this chase better. Now, for other parts of this race, we need to get on to them about having these caution laps. I like the green white, the green white checkers. I like it. I like the double file restarts. But I still think that there's one thing that they could do to make this sport even better is when 20 laps to go, don't count cautions. It's not even, you're taking away from the people putting the money in the stands, the people that are buying the road race tickets, and the people who are watching at home. It's just a waste, because it just changes everything. But that's just some of the things that I think. I'd like to hear what other people think and feedback from other people. Well, let's get back to the Dale Jr. and the saga over at Hendrick Motorsports a little bit. There is I don't know. This past week I was thinking. I was looking at some of these teams out there, and it seems to me that the 3-car teams are running better than the 4-car teams. And I got to thinking about it, and I said, it looks more like that the 3-car teams are resources that are not stressed as far, and the 3-car teams can put more resources into 3 cars than they do in 4. Maybe it's time for something like some I don't know about the Hendrick orders they having four and Rouse having four, but those teams are not working. I know Jimmy Johnson's won four championships and all that stuff, but it's just a luck factor for Jimmy Johnson. He's got the last 10 races figured out, and yeah, and he shouldn't have won three or four races this year. He's got lucky on all three first three he won. So it's just a matter of putting your place. Chad Knaus is a good crew keys, and he puts that car right in the right spot to win, even though he is not the best car. But in the meantime, he plays with it and gets it figured out. And so when the chase comes, he dominates it because nobody else can do that. Nobody's figured out how to do that, and he has. He played with them gray area rules so long. He's then figured out how to get around them. And they got to cut some of these loopholes down. So I think that the fan council probably needs to go down to 2 cars per team and make it mandatory, so the sponsorship dollars are spread equally out all the way down to the single car teams. And let's make the 43 cars that qualify a better racing field. Because right now all the money is going to the big teams, and when the big teams get all the money, you like the Hendricks and the Joe Gibbs and the Richard Childress and the Rouses, all these people got all the money. Well, guess what? It's not the best racing. It's more of a dollar signs that the big team. You get one car out of each organization that runs well, and instead of having 4 cars run well, they only have one run well. Sometimes maybe 2, but it looks like to me all the resources are being poured into those things. They should have all 4 cars running, but it's not working because of people. You got to have people. People build the organizations. Now, going back to that is this goes back to Junior and all the resources that are being poured into Hendrick Motorsports, but you got 4 cars, and you got one garage building engines, one garage building chassis. Well, they're building 4 teams at a time, and I don't want to say that Junior's not getting this. Everybody says they get the same equipment, but there's something to fault, and I don't know what that fault is. And all the money that Junior brings into this organization, I mean, he should be having the best equipment money should buy when he's putting more money in the stable than all other 3 cars. Well, that's all I'd like to say tonight, and I'd like to hear your feedback. Give me some more feedback, so let's talk more next week. Thank you.